Alabuga. It was originally intended to be an industrial production technopark in the Republic of Tatarstan, but it has become a factory of death and a legitimate target for the Ukrainian armed forces, as instead of developing new technologies, it has engaged in the production of Iranian drones. The working conditions here in Russia are legendary. On a territory of 4,000 hectares, the Kremlin has gathered several thousand young students from all over the country.
Alabuga Polytechnic is an institution where the best personnel for Russian industry are trained.
However, the youth in Putin's technopark were not gathered for education at all. It's just that the students have very well developed fine motor skills, which are extremely necessary for assembling Iranian Shahed drones. As a result, mass production of these drones was established in Alabuga. Instead of classes, students are offered to assemble the main weapon also of Kremlin terror, day and night.
They all indeed study for free, but they have a targeted three-party agreement under which they are obliged to work for 3 years. And from the second year, they start working off their obligation. Second, third, fourth year, they graduate, receive their diploma. In essence, everyone has worked off their obligation. They owe nothing and can either stay here with us or go wherever they want.
And the work is akin to hard labor, 12 hours a day in hazardous and health-threatening production, without weekends or sick leave.
Their schedule is very strict. It looks like this. They study and work from 9 to 9 every day for 4 years. Here, 2 days a week they study here. Well, how to say, they do have weekends, but actually, they have corporate tournaments, sports events, and essentially, there's no time to waste on nonsense. They come here and they simply have no choice.
Kremlin propagandists and the management of Alabuga don't even try to particularly hide what their applicants will be doing 24/7. Instead, they emphasize that you can earn quite well this way. Money is the main motivator in this entire Kremlin scheme.
Our country is currently in a rather interesting position. We need to replace foreign products as much as possible. There are a lot of goods that are, in principle, very easy to produce, but for some reason, we buy them from abroad, sending huge amounts of money there, and we could have set up production here and kept such huge amounts of money in our country.
But it seems that money no longer motivates Russian youth. After the recent drone raid on the production workshops of Alabuga, none of the locals want to go on shifts anymore. Rumor has it that if this continues, the Kremlin will soon run out of means to terrorize peaceful Ukrainian cities at night.
Finding hundreds of people in the depths of Tatarstan who are willing to work 12-hour shifts performing monotonous manual operations in a hazardous weapons production environment under constant pressure from state defense orders and the threat of imprisonment for disclosing state secrets has proven to be a challenging task.
To attract at least some drone assemblers to Tatarstan, the Kremlin embarked on a large-scale program to rehabilitate the reputation of Alabuga. Paid bloggers were brought to the Putin Technopark to praise the local working conditions and high salaries across the internet. However, instead of advertising, it turned into complete negative publicity. After the release of several such videos, the number of people willing to go to the special economic zone only decreased.
People are ready to work hard, and such individuals are nurtured here. This is Alabuga Polytechnic, and this place is not for whiners and weaklings. It's quite tough here. For example, in the first 2 months of training, Alabuga Polytechnic invites several dozen professional paintball players and pits them against their own students. The game takes place in any weather, snow, mud, slush, rain, hail. No one cares at all if you're uncomfortable.
Meanwhile, the local dormitories have seen an increase in the black population. The Russian drone manufacturing plant has increased the hiring of girls from poor African countries by as much as 25 times. While the Russian Ministry of Defense lures local guys to the front as soldiers, the Kremlin promises naive residents of African villages mountains of gold just to get them to come to Alabuga.
A girl came with zero programming knowledge, and in the end, the instructors taught her, and now she can interact with all of this.
Women are promised Russian language lessons, a place in a dormitory for $44 a month with meals, and a salary starting from 860 conventional units. However, once there, African women are forced to continuously assemble drones in Alabuga under exhausting and dangerous conditions. They are also paid less than promised and are made to work with toxic substances without protective gear.
No matter what anyone says, Alabuga prepares you for adult life. And the guys working 12-hour shifts came here completely voluntarily. They want, to earn a decent salary. They want to help their loved ones. They want to help their home country.
As a result, Interpol has already gotten involved in the matter. It has launched an investigation in the southern African country of Botswana regarding the possible involvement in human trafficking by the Alabuga Star program, which recruits women aged 18 to 22 for work in Tatarstan. We can only hope that the investigation will be swift, after which another of Putin's operations will finally be shut down, and there will be no one left in Russia to assemble the Kremlin's weapons of terror.
In Russia, they are planning to create an army of robots for military purposes.
We need to discuss the issues of using ground robotic systems in the context of a special military operation. They are used for solving reconnaissance, fire, transport, and special tasks. In the future, the role of ground robots will only increase. In the coming years it will be possible to talk about integrated, unmanned systems in a single network, in the air, on water, and on land, performing combat tasks within a common plan.
Russians, as always, make a lot of claims aiming for very complex systems right away, which involve a whole bunch of technical and engineering challenges, as well as issues related to circumventing sanctions.
It will be very interesting to see what comes of this, considering the recent successes of the Russians broadcasted by federal channels.
I am an intellectual assistant for military education. Robot Alicia.
Isn't that true? Really lucky?
It's hard to believe, but he controls a drone literally with the power of thought. Every person is a biological machine that contains electricity. Small impulses sent from the brain are read by sensors of a special neuro headset located on the head.
The decision to engage in the robotization of the country was made, as usual, on the president's orders.
By the year 2030, Russia should be among the top 25 leading countries in the world in terms of the number of industrial robots. Considering what we have today, that would be a good result.
However, Putin himself has already casually admitted that things are not as rosy as shown on federal channels.
This is something that should have been addressed a long time ago, but we always counted on the fact that by selling oil, gas, coal, and metal billets, we would receive all the high-tech goods for this money from abroad. But there is an opportunity. A necessity has arisen. It turned out that there is also the possibility to produce everything ourselves. Well, not everything, but what is needed. To develop our own technological keys. We will continue to do this.
Russians are currently facing significant problems through the Emirates, through Turkey. A lot is going through China, but they are essentially 70 to 90% dependent on foreign components and their own, but in general, the entire element base of Soviet drones was lagging behind by 20 to 30 years.
Even according to official data, only a few hundred robotic complexes were delivered to the Russian army last year.
What they have in ground robots are either prototypes or single units assembled at small factories and somehow ended up in their troops.
The most common among the robots are demining machines.
The Uran-6 robotic complex has proven itself excellently in the demining of Syria. It is used where the density of mines is the highest. Essentially, it just grinds the ground in front of it along with explosive objects.
There are also kamikaze robots that operate on the same principle as similar drones, only they move on the ground.
The Frog complex is compact and maneuverable, capable of reaching speeds of up to 20 kilometers per hour. Potholes and bumps are not an obstacle for it. When all 4 batteries are charged, it can operate continuously for more than an hour.
And then there's the most primitive platform, the couriers, for transporting ammunition, food supplies, and evacuating the wounded.
It's very simple to operate. It's like a regular remote-controlled car. So it's all simple. Forward, backward, left, right. It is controlled with this kind of remote. There's nothing complicated about it.
Of course, the Russian Ministry of Defense announced the production of medevac robots.
This machine itself is supposed to leave for the group in the coming days and start working. Nothing is more valuable than human life. Therefore, based on this, we need such a machine as soon as possible. Yes, as soon as possible, and as many as possible, and as cheaply as possible.
They even announced the production of combat robots to replace assault troops, as well as marine drones. But at what stage all this is, remains unclear.
Do it immediately, launch everything.
We need to make 30 pieces by the end of May.
That's hard, not enough.
Regarding marine drones, the Russians are just telling tales, just fantasizing about some unique drone that will swim underwater and perform miracles. They lack communication systems for this.
They are developing a robot at the military technopolis ERA. It's like a military Skolkovo, which was created 6 years ago by the then Minister of Defense Shoigu.
The main focus we have taken is robotics and artificial intelligence. There are interesting developments that are already in the final stages and will soon be deployed for actual testing in the area of the special military operation.
But judging by the report of the current Minister Belousov, there is little effect from this. It's all just PR and money laundering.
Each group has established its own production of ground robots. We saw at the exhibition that there are already samples of those robotic systems being produced by the groups. It should be noted that the products manufactured in the troops are the most effective.
They fully understand that they have no opportunity to reach the modern level. They lack the resources, the technological resources, the resources for components, and the personnel resources. They have started the construction of a whole bunch of factories, which will be built someday. But all of this seems more like just corruption schemes, where budget money is simply being extracted.
So in Russia, everything is as usual, a lot of talk and zero real action. Meanwhile, the bags of money siphoned from the Ministry of Defense continue to grow.